Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tadaima, Terrace House podcast, your weekly companion to your favorite show on Netflix. I am Robert Scarpanito, and I am joined here by Daily Wilhelm,
Konbanwa,
Jack Cepeda,
Irashaimase,
and Colin Sparling.
Hello, everybody.
And today we're going to focus on another set of lost tapes from Opening New Doors. We're looking at the ones from week 41 to 42 through 44. So if you haven't seen them yet, feel free to pause this episode of the podcast, check out the links in the description and or show notes. Go ahead and binge them real quick. And hi, welcome back.
There's a lot of these, aren't there? They made a lot.
There's a lot of fucking Yui, and these is what there is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of fucking Yui in these.
There's a lot of Yui, and we get some
no.
talking about Maya, and we don't ever see Maya. We just get a lot of talking about
There's
her.
not a lot of Maya in this. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm cool with how many there are, though. I mean, there's even more. We still have more to cover too. Eventually, one day, but it adds a lot to the show, man. It always makes me ask the question like, why is this not in the show?
Yeah. I really do wonder because there's such a fluctuation in episode length sometimes that it's like, why did you choose to cut this? Like, what merit was there to leave this out? Because some of the things that are left in, I'm like, this could have been a lost tape because I didn't need to see this, but I would have liked to see what we're going to discuss, like Kaito's conversation, the bath, etc.
Right. I would really like to see a chart of the shortest versus the longest episodes of Terrace House. Like, because we get, from my memory anyway, we've gotten anywhere from barely 30 minutes all the way up to like 45, maybe even 50 minutes long.
Then if you count the movie, like 2 hours or something, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah. I totally am on the same boat with you guys. And I feel like we do say this at almost every lost tape. I feel like it's a mixed bag of, there are some scenes we totally get it. We understand why this wasn't in the show. And then there's some scenes where I'm like, this is the context. This is the thing that wouldn't have made a story development later on blindside us.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the last Lost Tapes episode, if I recall right, was pretty dry. The episodes that we watched for that, the Another Terrace videos, rather. Like, compared to these ones.
They're inconsistent. Luckily, this week, that's not the case. We have some exciting stuff to talk about.
These are juicy.
Spice.
Yeah. There's some sriracha
Hot
going on
salsa.
Just some sriracha on here. Sponsored by Sriracha, y'all. I say let's just start getting into this. But before we start, special thanks and shout out to CostcoSubs on the Terrace House subreddit for being the ones to spearhead the translation of all of these projects. We would be lost without you. So thank you.
Without you.
Our lost
first one we're gonna
tapes would be
focus on.
lost.
Yeah.
is one that happens during week 42. This clip is called Philosophy of Love, which is really steamy sounding, but kind of isn't quite a steamy clip. But this happens during week 42. The episode was called To Have Become Critical. To put context to this clip, this is the episode where Soda finally leaves in all of his embarrassment. I mean, he accomplished his goals, so he left with his pride still intact. And Masao joins the house. Meanwhile, Io starts kind of making moves toward Yui, and he asks her out on a fishing date in the middle of midnight. It was a little weird, but
Yui.
yeah,
We're
starting to see some of that.
Yui.
Yeah, that was the scene.
Yui.
Yeah, where he stumbles into the girl's room and he's just like, Yui, and she's like very obviously sleeping.
What?
Yeah.
Nani? And he's just like, hey, let's go out, dato.
Let's go fishing.
Yeah.
Of all things, let's go fishing.
Let's go fishing. First thing in the morning. It's like 2 hours from now.
You gotta go. That's the thing about fishing. I mean, I'm not a fishing expert or anything like that, but one thing I know about fishing is you gotta get out there early, man. Those fish are hungry early in the day.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw like it was just a little creek with fish in it. It was like kind of a fish farm.
It was
It was
like
a farm
set up,
situation. Yeah.
like you can't not catch fish there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine like they probably sell you like a stick of dynamite for $20. Like, here, have fun.
Yeah, definitely. They weren't out in the middle of the ocean somewhere deep sea fishing for marlin or swordfish.
It looked like they were in some like backyard, if I remember right.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little crick.
So this scene focuses on the bathroom, the sauna room, if you will, where Yui and Risako are just two gals sitting in a hot tub, 2 feet apart.
3 feet apart.
I thought you said this wasn't very steamy at all. There's a lot of steam going on.
I mean, literally, there's steam because it's a hot bath, and this was totally one of those
shoulders.
scenes.
You can see some shoulders.
This is one of those scenes where I'm like, why was this not in the show? Because you never see them hang out or even like have any sort of real positive will towards each other. But this seemed like a real bonding moment. It seemed like something I would have wanted to see in a normal show. I don't know. I thought this clip was very entertaining.
It was, and it's basically the antithesis to everything that happens afterwards with the sock incident and so on and so forth.
It adds a lot of context to where Yui and Risako seemed like really good friends in the early 40s. You know, in the 40s.
In the early 40s.
In the early 40s.
Back in the 40s.
Guys, we're in our 40s now.
Oh, God.
This is
Episode-wise.
Yeah.
Wow. No, genuinely, though, it made me sadder about what happened to see, like, them getting along and laughing and giggling about their love lives and seeing, like, that, like, One-chan, like, older sister kind of tutelage that Risako had to offer Yui in that moment. Like, where did that go? Because Yui at some point, I guess, started treating her less like an elder and more like someone that she, definitely someone that she looked down upon. And that just really surprised me now having that context of this clip.
Yeah, this was very surprising for me. And I guess the moment on the show where it did turn south was when Yui decided to talk behind Risako's back to Maya, right? When Risako was out of town modeling, if I remember that correctly. But this this really illustrated again Risako's experience and kind of tenure, you know, as a woman, juxtaposed against Yui's. Yui came across really amateurish, or not really amateurish, but really immature, I think is more accurate way to put it. Naive, like she really didn't know much about much.
Yeah, I will say, though, for as much as we're building Risako up to be the mature person in this situation, I would like to remind you all, she still does speak in the third person in this clip.
Risako.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's still a little bit of that baby talk going on.
Forgot about that.
Yep.
Her priorities in men were very interesting to me, too. They didn't feel developed.
I want that money. She's like, when I was younger, I really wanted the money.
A guy with a lot of money
when she was young.
You rarely hear someone speak with that level of frankness, really. So in a way, I was kind of like, hey, at least she admitted it. So many people would lie and say, no, money doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it kind of matters.
Well, to be fair, she wasn't admitting it in the moment. She was saying when I was younger, right?
Sure.
So I feel like it's easier to like say, hey, I was dumb when I was young. This is the reason, right? Rather than saying, I am dumb right now. I am dating you for your money.
I've grown from that perspective. And now she just cares about just very casual acts of kindness, which I really liked. I was like, oh, yeah, actually, that does really attract me to a person. Like small kindnesses, like opening the jar of honey while like they're just on the phone, not really paying attention. That was, and then I liked that Yui then was like, oh, you must be in love with me then, because I do that for you all the time.
Yeah.
I do love how that paints a very specific mental picture, but you totally understand the feeling that Risako is explaining. You know?
Yeah,
and
just that like underlying like dependability or, you know, like demonstrating competence, I guess, and even the small things matters. It's nice to hear that people notice that too.
Exactly, and it's one of those things where like it does sound kind of cheesy when it first rolls off the tongue, but then like, and then Yui's like, I don't know, it's a little weird. I mean, that's a tiny thing to really make a big deal out about something like that. But yeah, like you said, if you really think about it, it's definitely one of those things where it exemplifies that feeling and manifests that.
And then on the flip side, Yui talks about what it is that gets her heart rate going a little bit when it comes to dating people. And she says that it's whenever there is some prolonged eye contact, which Risako immediately jumps to, oh, you mean like Kaito. And here's the thing, I totally get it. That one scene in the supermarket, he looked directly at the camera. My heart leapt a lot. I totally understand that. But real talk, this just kind of reminded me like, oh yeah, there was a time where Yui was kind of like a maybe gonna go for Kaito kind of thing. You know?
We thought it was a sure thing for a bit. Like they did the Skato Dato.
Skato Dato. There was too many Skato Datos over the course of opening new doors.
Not enough, if you ask me.
Man, there's a lot of Skato Datos going on. It's like, Skato Dato, which one?
Same. Let's see what else here. Risako does say that now she's 28. She's like, when she's thinking about dating someone now, she is wholeheartedly also thinking, is this marriage material? You know, like her last relationship, she broke up with the guy because she could not see herself getting married to that person.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that. I mean, so you just hit that point, right, in your maturity where you're kind of done with the whole dating thing, especially if you've been through the gamut, kind of like it sounds like Risako has, right? Mm-hmm. And you just hit a point where, like, you know, I'm ready to find that someone and just like settle down. I'm kind of over the whole going back and forth thing.
I mean, she's dating with a purpose now. Right. And it carries more weight.
Endgame.
Yeah, this is Endgame. She wants someone to share a grave with, I think is what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Wow.
I mean, I get it. Like, you want someone to grow old with. You want someone to die with. You want someone to share a grave with. I mean, not literally share a grave, but, you know, you get what she means. But that's the hardest core. So, you know, that's, in a way, like, I kind of see now why she didn't even want to give Masao-chan a chance, because if she couldn't think long term, like, this is going to be the guy in the grave with me, you know, if that's her aim, you know, and if one thing she needs is the height, you know, then we can't blame her for making that decision.
See, simultaneously for me, it was like he did all those little kindnesses for her all the time, and
I'm sure
so
he
I
opened
was
some
like,
jars.
Yeah, so that was kind of like what you're describing is what someone's already doing from you other than Yui. But I totally get it if that, you know, physical attraction isn't there, if that, you know, there's many other ways to click other than this person is nice to me.
Yeah, and honestly, that's probably the realistic driving force, right? Is I bet you if Masao was a couple inches taller, maybe a little more chiseled, I'm sure things would have had a higher chance of working out. But if you're just not physically attracted to someone, that's kind of it. GG, you know, like.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it in another one of these lost tapes here, but he also didn't do a great job at capitalizing on his assets either, as we'll get to later.
No, but one thing I do want to ask you guys, and this is a very profound question to me, that we need to answer as Tadaima before we leave this scene.
Pay attention, Colin.
I'm feeling pressure right now. I'm feeling a strong amount of pressure coming from everyone, really.
It's out of my head.
When it comes to what's most attractive in a guy, are you a Risako or a Yui?
What did you even say?
Yui was all about the thigh. Risako was all about the upper body.
Okay, thank you for bringing this up. So what she refers to, she's like, well, it's the arm and the shoulders. And okay, so she was like, well, not really there. It's like the space in between. And like, I thought it was common parlance. Like, that's called the nook. Anyone understand getting nooked? What that means? Am I the only one in this room? Okay, fine. So that's the nook, and like that's where typically when it's cuddle time, that's where the female's head rests, and then her arm kind of goes on the other side of your chest, and then she's nooked, and and you're cuddling, and it's a good place to be for the guy and the girl. And so yeah, I can totally see how Risako values that. So I have to go with the nook. The nook is where it's at.
The nook for sure. The first year Zach and I were together, and when we would have sleepovers before we were like living together,
is that what kids call them these days?
That's what kids call them these days. Like that's where I would sleep like all night, like in the nook.
In the nook.
Yep.
In the nook.
Okay. And
Colin,
and that's it.
Yeah. The thigh. So the other option was the thighs? Is that what
I've never? Yes. Okay, daily question. Okay, so I never thought, and I'm totally naive in this. I get it, that girls ever paid attention to dudes really below the waist. I mean, I understand like girls like comment on a dude's like rear and stuff. Like I get that for sure, but I never thought girls ever looked at like legs or thighs or calves or ankles or feet or anything like that. Am I totally wrong there? Am I totally wrong?
No, I was surprised too. I have in recent years heard a lot from friends of mine about like, oh man, his legs though, and it's like, what? I don't really.
Wow.
Yeah, I do.
I don't really pay attention to that.
When I was in high school, I had someone tell me once that I had a nice butt, and it was weird. It weirded me out.
He got complimented once, guys.
I know once.
Bring it on the podcast.
Got to bring it up on the podcast. But no, I was like kind of weirded out. I was like, what does that even mean?
It means you have a nice butt.
I mean,
That's pretty straightforward.
Take the compliment.
Yeah, it's a quandary.
At the time, now I'm like whatever, but like back then I was like, what the fuck? What does that even mean? Like I've never. What does it matter if a guy has a nice butt?
Oh, okay.
It matters.
We're not supposed to have these. Yeah, because usually girls, at least I thought, just pay attention to like shoulders, arms, biceps, abs.
Right,
chest.
exactly. And I mean, I think that's still my choice, though. I would still roll with the nook, so to speak.
I'm a nook man.
I'm more of a Kindle man myself, but
damn it, I was about to say sponsored by Amazon.
There you go.
I thought someone would make a Tom Nook joke.
Okay, there's two more people need to answer in there.
I think, I would say the Nook for me probably, but not really necessarily the Nook. I just think that the upper body of a man is a lot more attractive than the thighs, because the thighs like really weird. Like when I think of the thigh, I just think of like people slapping them. It's like not.
That's a good thigh.
I'm fairly certain that there's a video on YouTube. You have to Google this with Babazono grabbing some dude's thighs and it's a really comical moment.
Oh my!
Yeah,
I mean, it's weird. Like the thigh to me is more of a comical body part. Of course, once you get into upper thigh, then it's extremely sexual. But
yikes!
Everything
the
below
upper
that.
thigh is extremely sexual. That's going to be our tagline for the thumbnail, y'all.
I can't handle anyone touching my upper thighs. It's not allowed. It's too much. It's too much. No, don't do it, Robert.
It's too much.
Okay. I'm just saying. Next
you
time
make
you
it
come
sound like he's gonna like reach over right now.
The way he's like, really? He's like putting that in the old bank there. Like, I know what I'm gonna do next time
I'm just saying. Next time you're here, better wear some real thick shorts.
Robert, I'm saying no.
Consent.
Yeah, no, consent is sexy.
Listen, we are a podcast. We talk consent. All right, this podcast is all about consent.
Yes, clearly.
It's about consent and no kink shaming. You thought this was about Terrace House, but that's really
actually.
Robert, you just said no. You're the one who's Mr. No kink shaming, yet you're over here unconsensually talking about Jack's thighs.
We never said it was a kink.
This is not. I'm not okay with this being a topic.
But your thighs?
Yes, definitely. Especially you saying it, Daly. Please stop.
When I go to KFC, I get the drumstick and thighs box.
What's going to happen? Am I going to blow up? No, it'll go straight to your thighs. And then you'll blow up.
Whew. Okay, so no thigh people here then.
Let's go on to the next clip, shall we?
Yeah.
This clip is called Love Advice. It happens during week 43, the episode lovingly named Booger Boy and Snoring Boy. It's the episode where we find out that Masao snores like a motherfucker and Io picks his nose like a motherfucker. That's the episode where Io and Yui go on that fishing date in the creek. And Masao, during dinner one night, Masao brings out that corset with Risako on it and is like, guys, look, it's the girl of my dreams. It's destiny.
Yes. I'm with you.
I found you.
So in this clip, this is in the playroom with Yui and Masao, and the very first thing Masao comments on is that this is the infamous room where everyone makes out. And I love it.
Not just making out. I mean, it's the action room for sure.
Fucking.
Of the season.
Yeah, guys, we're going to need to borrow the playroom tonight. So if you guys could just, scooch.
Yeah, just scram.
The playroom is where everything happens. Breakups, sex ups, tongue downs.
Yeah, a lot of action.
What's the difference between why are some up and why are some down?
I don't know.
Is this a cheat code? Is this the cheat code to sex?
Is this the Konami
up,
code?
Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
Okay, so this got kind of juicy too. It got a little awkward in a way, but it's basically Masao-chan and Yui, of all people. You know, they don't have too many one-on-one moments, but this is kind of a rare moment where they get into some personal discussion, right?
Yeah, it's they kind of talk to each other about their love lives essentially, and Masao starts asking Yui about, hey, are you interested in any of the other guys? Like, are the other two guys like love interests for you? And I thought this was weirdly smooth, but it didn't feel smooth. Like on paper, it's like, oh, that's a smooth criminal right there. But then seeing it in action, it's horrible. But what happens is Yui says, oh, but like, what if you're the guy I like? Isn't that going to be a little weird for you? And he says, I've never been that blessed.
Yeah,
He
he's like,
just takes himself. He just
like,
takes himself
damn,
out of the fucking equation.
Seriously,
he's like, nah, it ain't happening. Come
he's
on,
like, where's
let's
that
be
friend
real.
zone? Oh, there it is. Oh, solace.
Y'all, I thought this could happen though. I believed
I
for a little bit there.
I thought there was an opportunity. I think he had the best. Probably in retrospect, if he had a chance to win anyway, it probably was Yui of the three girls at the end.
They had a good relationship. They were all smiles whenever they were talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was very insistent to her coming to him for advice, right? He says it in this clip and then another clip as well.
He
He's
says
like,
it a
come
lot,
for me for love advice, come to me for work advice and career advice.
Like if the last clip was Risako being the older sister to Yui, this clip is Masao being the older brother.
Until of course she like fucks everyone over, but
Zoinks. Yeah, I don't know, it was an interesting scene where we just kind of see Masao try to mentor her a little, and it was a really nice moment between the two. And I couldn't help but think, why wasn't this in the show? Because it made me think of, I think it was the end of episode 46 maybe, where they're playing ping pong. And then they sit down at the end of that scene and Yui's talking about how, I'm still all about like, I love someone before I, have sex with them and all that. And I thought, okay, it's cool they're playing ping pong. It's cool they're bonding here, but this feels out of place. I've never seen them hang out before. But if this clip we're talking about were in the show, we're in week 43, that ping pong scene would have made a lot more sense in context.
It was a rare moment for sure, and I agree with you. I think it would have been totally right at home and appropriate in an episode of the show proper. And you know what? He kind of tried to wedge himself in that friend zone, but at the end of the clip, I still felt like Yui was kind of keeping the door somewhat open, because they even had those lighthearted jokes like, oh, well, we could end up together, and wouldn't that be something? And I don't know. It didn't seem like the door was completely slammed in his face at the end of this clip.
I love the part where Yui put her hand in Masao's, and it was like something like she was giving him something, and then she like slid his hand, and he's like, "Oh, my heart leapt a little bit."
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I wasn't even thinking about it." Damn, dude, that is. I wonder if that's happened to anyone else in this room right now. But this definitely happened to me before, where like someone like demonstrates some physical thing, and I'm like, "Oh," and they're just like, "Oh, it wasn't a thing." I was like, "Oh,
shot down,
100%."
Daily, I have a question actually for you about this. Do you know anything about the red rice thing that was brought up?
Bro, how are you not asking me about the red rice? But I'll let Daily go first.
You know about this?
Go. What the fuck? The red rice? Dude, I'm half fucking Chamorro. The red rice is like a Guam thing, dude. Red rice is festive as fuck.
I had no idea. I thought it was a Japanese thing.
What is it made with?
So it's a choti and rice and garlic, and it's delicious. And so I don't know honestly, I don't know if they're talking about the same red rice, but when I hear red rice, I think Chamorro, fucking Pacific Islander food. Filipinos know what I'm talking about. Fucking A, it's awesome. Okay, different thing.
Different.
Sorry,
Well,
I had to fly off the handle there. Okay.
It was the
also
context in
exciting.
which he talked about it. He was like, if I said this, it would have came off as sexual harassment, but Yui said it first or something, right? And then I can't remember off the top of my head, but then they were like, we should have a celebration party. We should make red rice.
And what would they be celebrating? Oh, if she got butterflies from touching.
Yeah, she fell in love.
Yes, that's what it was. But do you know what that means, Daily? Because he said sexual harassment, so it was like.
So, I don't know the part about how that would be construed as sexual harassment. It might be like a word pun here, because Han is like crime, like criminal, and seki, sex, like maybe that's it. I don't know. That's a very far reach for me. But sekihan is red rice, so it's made with azuki beans, like red bean, like it's kind of sweet. And then just rice, and you have it for like special occasions like birthdays or celebrations, and it's in fact like synonymous. If you say like, oh, let's eat sekihan, it's essentially you're saying like, let's celebrate, like let's have cake and ice cream, like you do that when you celebrate.
Gotcha.
Okay,
interesting.
I did a cursory Google search, and apparently red rice, right, azuki, the bean, right, the red bean, sweet red bean, apparently it's full of a lot of good nutrients that people are like, that'll help you with your bone time.
Oh no.
Oh,
Like-
wait, is it kind of like the same idea as like oysters or pineapple?
It's an aphrodisiac.
Well,
Pineapple.
it's not an
I never heard of
aphrodisiac.
that.
No, it's not an aphrodisiac, but it has like iron, potassium, zinc, and folic acid.
Folic acid. What's a pineapple, Colin? What are you talking about, bro?
You never heard the thing
Let's
about
get into
pineapple?
this. Please, let's get into this.
Am I the
God.
only one?
We're about to earn our X rating.
What is
fam.
a pineapple besides a fruit?
Okay, so to put it I'm just gonna put it really bluntly. It makes your cum taste good.
Oh.
I knew that.
I wanted
Okay.
you to
I thought-
be delicate about it.
Yeah, I wanted a metaphor. Can we roll back the tape? Can someone come up with a good metaphor
Yeah.
for it?
Okay, so what about pineapple, Colin? What?
Well, when you eat the pineapple, it does things to a certain fluid in your body.
Oh, I
Like
get
your blood?
Not well. I mean, I guess partially.
Does it give you sweet blood like fairies?
Well, it does something sweet to one of your bodily
okay,
fluids.
All right, we totally
just-
get it. I totally understand.
Here,
Why did you
here,
get like from Jersey suddenly?
It's very straightforward, guys. It's basically when you're with a partner and
When you
he or
love someone
she's-
very much.
when he or she is churning your butter, it makes your butter taste sweeter.
Okay, I did know that. I just didn't know what you guys were talking about at the time, so I understand. Okay, I get it.
Oh, and also pineapples make you mad, Randy.
Is that a thing?
That I didn't know about.
No,
And
it's
also,
not-
I don't
it's
even
not
know if
just
the thing I
Robert.
was I don't even know if the thing I'm talking about is like scientifically proven. It was just always one of those bullshit things that you heard going to public school that people would talk
I
about.
mean, definitely. I think there's some merit. I've never tested it out scientifically, but
how the fuck would you?
But I mean, like, it's kind of commonly known that if you eat asparagus, it makes your pee smell funny too. Like it does
Yeah.
all kind. I've seen friggin' Mean Girls. What?
The greatest source of
What
science.
is the pineapple thing in me? I've never seen Mean Girls. Full disclosure.
No, the asparagus thing. I think.
Oh, the pineapple thing is in there. That'd be wild.
So anyway, yeah, it would.
Last thing I did want to point out from this clip before we went on a train of pineapples is Masao. He has a way with words, and I don't know if I mean that in a good or bad way yet, but he says in this clip, and I quote, "You always do a lot of chores, so I hope you get a love reward from God."
I love it.
It's great, but that sounds like it would only work as a song lyric and
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
other
yeah.
place.
Yeah. I wonder
It
if he has
sounds like
any
she's, like-
lyrical experience.
It sounds like she's like the next like Virgin Mary that way.
Mm-hmm.
A love reward from God.
I'm sure she would like that characterization. So real quick before we move on, so Yui was demonstrating to Wada how Io gives her gifts and then uses that motion to like interlace their fingers, and it's like that's a weird way to give someone a gift. Has
like
anyone
you
ever done that?
Really want to touch someone.
No, that's like if you were grabbing like a handful of M&Ms and then we're like putting it in someone's hand.
But then you grab their hand and smush the M&Ms between your two sweaty palms. That's like what he was doing. It was-
Delicious, yes.
That sounds great.
You can
I
eat those
love my
tots.
M&Ms slightly warm and sweaty.
Gross.
It adds the right amount of salt to it, you know?
So
That's like the type of shit where you'd see in like Karate Kid where like, yeah, Daniel-san, if you do this motion, just do that for like the next day. And then turns out that's actually a karate thing. Like, I don't know. Seems like something ridiculous.
It's a soccer thing.
okay, man.
Yeah.
It's
just
how to
gonna-
grab your pink slip after getting fired. No, just kidding.
I'm going to move us on to the next clip on our bucket here. This also happens during week 43, same episode, Booger Boy, Snoring Boy. And this clip is called Curry and Rice or Steak. And for the record, I guess I'd choose curry and rice, but I don't know.
Sticky.
This happens in the girls' room, and at first it's just Risako and Yui, and they're just sitting around and chatting. And this happens after Maya's little fashion show where she walked on the runway dressed like a gift bag full of tissue paper.
And Kaito is sprung.
Yeah. And they kind of comment on how, hey, you know, things weren't really resolved yesterday after we kind of wrung out Maya for being really moody. But I guess things seem okay now, question mark?
Yeah, this whole thing was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Saka incident a lot, and it was just...
I felt like the girls were fine. It was only when the dudes roll up.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
then...
they rolled up, and it was uncomfortable.
Yeah, Kaito and Io enter, And it's like a weird atmosphere for a bit, you know? And
I think it's Kaito's first time in the room, too. And that's kind of like a weird precedent. You don't want to say, like, oh, the only time I'm in here was when there's some serious shit I need to discuss.
He got comfy, though. He, like, covered up with a blanket and leaned a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I've noticed that's, like, a thing when any of these talks happen in either of the rooms. Whoever comes in is doing the talkings. I'm going to sit down, cover myself up, get myself prepped for this argument I'm about to have, and get nice and covered with all these pillows and blankies.
It's to protect them, you know?
It's like, you want a glass of warm milk with that? Good God.
Same.
Yeah.
But
foot rub.
Kaito says that, hey, the mood in Terrace House is super duper not great. Little did he know the sock incident was coming in like 2 weeks, but nonetheless.
He steered clear.
So he's basically asking about, you know, hey, are you guys excluding Maya? You know, Maya doesn't really feel welcome in the girls' room. Like, what's up with that? And Yui says from the beginning that she and Maya were close, but then when Kaito came into the picture, Maya started hanging out more with Kaito. I'm like, I don't feel like that answers the question very well, if at all.
Yeah.
Man.
No, not at all. It's like, the girl seems so detached from what the hell's going on with her.
Yeah, it was definitely indicative that Maya had been talking to Kaito, I feel like.
Yeah.
About troubles. And Maya's sleeping on the couch, like days on. You know, she's not even comfortable enough. She can't even fall asleep in the same room. Red flags abound. And the finger, and then Ayo's there too. Did we mention that? He's sitting there as well. And
yes,
the fingers start getting pointed towards one person in that room. And that person's Risako.
Same.
Which I'm always surprised at. Like, I feel like it's just that Yui is so adept at ducking and diving any sort of blame that she's like, well, Risako was in this too.
It's just so crazy to me that you could just like be like hungry for steak for lunch one day and then just be surprised that maybe she had the expectation of steak and then it's all like, oh, we're not. And now she's like, oh, no steak. And then it becomes this big moment in Terrace House, or at least on Another Terrace.
Yeah.
It's like, I just said, are we not getting steak?
I think, well, what's crazy to me is like kind of reading into the subcontext of what's going on here is, so they're like, hey, I thought we were getting steak, and they're like, no, we need to go to the curry restaurant. And then Kaito's like, hey, you're not being very considerate of Maya. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous because I'm pretty sure she probably in passing thought the original plan was getting steak and she just wasn't up to date.
Yeah, like just say like, actually, no, we can't because because I only got half an hour. So are you cool going here?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, I'm sure that's
what adults do.
And the reason why she probably broke down crying was because she's probably been dealing with this shit
just frustrated
for a while in the house. Everyone in this house by the end of the show is just mentally fucking exhausted.
Like, obviously Maya, it seems like had been like harboring this ill will too. She's like, she mentioned steak and she knows I can't, like, how, like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't you just like hash it out right then and there on the spot? It doesn't have to like boil, like underneath the skin and then become a thing where now Kaito has to make his first appearance in the girls' room to talk about this on your behalf when you're gone.
Well, I think part of it is that I think Kaito, maybe Maya didn't tell. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Maya didn't tell Kaito to go talk to them.
Probably
but I think Kaito's like, he was probably backtracking in his head to figure out, hey, where was the pain points here? What might be causing Maya to be off-put by what's going on in the girls' room? Mm-hmm. And he's thinking that maybe that could have been a source of frustration, but I think he was just way off.
Like, it definitely feels like one of those, like, the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. It's like not the original issue, but it's just the most recent, like, quote unquote affront to happen, where it's like, in maybe Kaito and the guy's mind, they're like, oh man, Risako and Yui don't think of Maya a lot and they like exclude her. And then they were like, oh yeah, because like to just the other day when we went to go get curry because Maya only had so much time to eat. And they were like, oh, we wanted steak, though. And it's like they seize onto that as like the example when really it's like that's a really bad example.
And I'm kind of just extrapolating the situation now. And like maybe we just referenced it, that time where Yui was talking shit about Risako to Maya. Maybe that was some weird, like misguided attempt to bond with Maya. to maybe bring her back and make her feel more comfortable. Like, oh, let's bond about something. But Yui also in her immaturity didn't realize how that could have ramifications down the road.
I could see Yui doing that. Now, knowing now that what we know about her, I could see Yui trying to like basically overcompensate in the other direction in her own, I guess, diabolical way. So if you look at the timeline of like events that happened between the three girls, you have the time when we know there's an issue between Yui and Maya, and then by extension Risako when she comes into the house, because Yui and Maya talk about, Maya's mood swings. And that's the first thing we kind of know about there being an issue with Maya, right? And then Yui tries to confront her yet again later on. Then eventually it turns into a thing where Maya is all of a sudden sleeping out of, not in the girls' room. Kaito talks to Maya. That turns into a thing. He goes to confront the girls, not really having solid evidence.
And, go back to the room here. Risako now is crying, and Kaito makes one of the funniest faces ever. Like, what not to do when a girl's crying? Don't make that face, man.
He did the whole he's like, what the fuck? Why is she crying? Why is this
he kind of looked like one of those wacky wavy arm inflatable flailing man kind of bad.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what that shows that Kaito just isn't fully aware of what's going on.
No, never.
Yeah, and on top of that, I do want to point out too that pretty much the moment Risako starts crying, Kaito is basically like, well, pack it up. This situation's over. We're done. I'm gonna leave. Bye. See ya. Come on. Come with me.
She's like, don't want any part of this.
Never come back to this room all season.
Yeah, it just came off as he's one of those guys that doesn't know what to do when a girl cries, kind of thing.
Clearly. No, man. He was hitting eject fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was obviously a way deeper rooted problem than what was let on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is just a prime example of don't be passive aggressive. It leads to shit like this where nothing gets done. No one is willing to get shit done. And everyone just kind of sits there and stews in their own hatred of each other.
Sadness.
Yep. And we go to find, we'll find out that even through the end of the series, nothing really gets resolved. Shit gets worse. And we leave the house in a very quick fashion. Nobody's hugging each other. No one likes each other really by the end of the time at the house.
It's very clear that though they came in the room, perhaps Io and Kaito with the best of intentions, really they didn't achieve anything through that interaction. If anything, everyone just seeded things to be worse later.
Mentally and emotionally exhausted by the end.
Same. It's what's the worst too is it's that kind of drama that's also exhausting to watch. Because
it is,
you're watching it and you're like, I'm done with this. There's nothing happening here. Nothing will happen here. Can I just leave now?
Yeah.
On that note, do you guys want to go get steak?
Let's go get steak.
Yeah, well, let's put a pause on the podcast right here.
I don't have enough time to get curry.
I don't think you're considering Colin.
Oh, Daily, I was just feeling steak though. Can we go get steak?
Okay, if they went ahead and got steak knowing that Maya would have to bail before she even got food, then it would have been totally justified.
Pretty shitty. Yeah.
But they didn't. They went and got curry.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's okay to confirm and just confirm plans in the moment. I don't see the issue.
I know. It's so weird, man. It's so weird. The girls' dynamic in that room at that end was can't be stated enough. It was just toxic.
Same. So let's talk about something a little happier. Let's move on to the next clip called What Caused It. Happened during week 44. That episode was called Only the Apple Was Watching. And the name of the episode comes from the fact that Kaito and Maya tongued down real hard in the playroom with the laptop watching them. All hail Apple-sama.
Sure.
But also Risako and Masao go on that waterfall and cafe date. What else here? Oh, this is the episode where Enon, the singer of Gesu no Kiwami Otome, gives Masao the worst advice and just tells him, tell her you like her every week, then she'll date
just
you.
Annoy the shit out of her till she gives in.
Thanks.
Wear her down.
Thanks.
So where's the scene of this clip?
So this clip takes place in the kitchen with Io, Masao, Risako, and Yui hanging out. And Masao just kind of brings up his whole history, and he's like, hey, I went to grad school and I developed a diagnostic instrument for metabolic syndrome, that's wild. That's smart.
Yeah, that was like that.
Smart.
The whole time I'm like, what the hell is metabolic syndrome? And then like Risako and Io are saying the same thing. Like, I have no idea what that is. He could just be making this up.
While they're saying, I don't know what that is, Masao says, but while researching it, I ended up developing metabolic syndrome for myself. And then no one else really responded to that.
I was like,
Okay. So
I was like, I thought I was crazy. I thought that it was like, it happened so quick. I was like, wait, did I see that right?
Yeah.
And that was like the moment from Tommy Wiseau's The Room where the grandma's like, well, the test came back. I have breast cancer.
and then they just keep going.
Yeah, so how's lunch?
Yeah.
So metabolic syndrome, according to the Mayo Clinic, is a cluster of conditions that occur together, increasing your risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. These conditions include increased blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol of triglyceride levels. Whatever that means.
So
That just
yikes.
sounds like getting out of shape.
I might have to do with metabolism.
Yeah.
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 But metabolic, whoa.
Wow.
I see that connection, yeah.
But yeah, so Masao might have metabolic syndrome and no one cares. So
Yikes.
that really
Dang.
sucks.
No one cared at all.
Do you think it's just like no one knew what it was, so they were just like, oh.
Oh, that
Yeah,
sucks.
but on the bright side, at least he developed the instrument so he could confirm whether he had it, right?
And then he was
Yes.
into sound, and so he got into like ultrasound technology, right? But then he couldn't find a job in that field, so he's like, I might as well do something else. Like, damn, dude, didn't you like just spend a shitload of time and money and effort in studying this, and now it's just like, no, I'm gonna be a bass player.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like, I can't find a job. Guess I'm gonna go be in a huge fucking rock band, nationally touring rock band, as you do.
No, he was a businessman though, right? And then he would play on the weekends with Gesu no Kiwami until they got big enough.
Man, he's a man of many talents because he's super smart. He's a great cook, and he's like as good at one thing as it takes people like a lifetime to get as good as he is at one thing. And he's like a Renaissance man in effect. He's terrible at love. He's terrible at relationships. We know that now. But man, he's got talents, like legitimate.
The conversation shifts to Yui, where she kind of gives an update on her job hunt. And this is just another one of those moments where Masao is kind of mentoring her in front of Io and Risako, which, looking back on it, might have been a little bit of a weird dynamic. But, he was giving her some solid advice and doing the whole, if you need any advice, come to me kind of thing again.
Mentor. Yeah, being a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because he and Yui kind of spun off, and they're at a table of 4, and they kind of spin off and have their own conversation and just kind of like totally ignore Risako and Io, and it kind of got awkward. They're like, oh, sorry, we kind of got carried away.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, the rest of the scene, I don't think there's that much to it. I mean, Yui does the whole, I still don't know what I want to do yet, so who knows?
Yeah, I liked that he was like, I was sad when I was watching the show and I saw that you gave up on wanting to be in the bridal industry when that was your dream. And I think that you should still go after it. And it's like, that's kind of like, it's weird. There's those rare moments that like a fan, quote unquote, gets to like speak directly to a member of the show and reference something like that.
That's true. It makes me wonder how many people were watching that and were thinking, hey, Masao, you're saying exactly what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I would have told her if I met her, right?
Yeah.
And I do often wonder how much damage, if any, the sock incident actually did play in any career prospects she had. I mean, she already had a job going into that, so I don't think they would have rescinded their invitation, or their offer. But I still wonder about that because she really damaged her stock in the final weeks there.
Yeah, well, the thing was she'd already damaged her stock before in the show, right? And so a big part of her character arc was seeing herself on the show and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually like that. Like, I can't believe how I behaved. And so she was on the up and up for a solid while in the show. I mean, she even had our good graces. And next thing you know, turns out she's been talking behind people's backs left and right. And if I'm a potential employer and I see that doesn't speak well for what she could do in my company's culture.
Just on a character level, yeah.
Right.
Do you wonder if at her new job people call her like Sock Girl or just Socks?
Oh, her
like just
nickname
her
could be
nickname.
Socks. Now they will, Robert. Thanks.
Robert, you're just feeding the machine.
Yikes.
I just, imagine her. She gets into the office. Like, oh, hey, Brian, how's it going? And Brian's like, oh, hey, Socks.
No, dude. You know what the move
no.
is? You know what the move is? It's you buy everyone in the company Minion socks
Minion
except
socks.
Yui.
Oh, man.
That's the move.
Oh, yikes. Good God, people.
Let her
Same.
get a taste of it.
Let's move on to the last clip we're going to talk about today. This one is called Love Tactics. It also happens during week 44, and I guess it's an extended scene from when Masao and Enon have dinner together, and it's that same dinner where Enon's like, just keep on trying. Just keep on
Thanks.
telling her you like her.
Thanks, man.
Dude, this is so infuriating. I mean, I'm entertained watching them talk and interact because Enon knows him so well and knows his history so well. He's just kind of like big brother, little brother. Like, he just knows Wada so well, and he knows his tendencies. He knows what works, what doesn't work. It's like he's really keeping tabs on Wada. He's really concerned about him like a big brother would be. But man, he gives him good advice, and it just never happens. And it's so infuriating where he's like, you should be playing bass around the house in the living room. You should be rocking out, just doing your own thing, being in your element. I mean, look what it did. If people that have watched Aloha State, look what it did for, what's that guy's name again?
Eden Kai, Yusuke.
Eden Kai, thank you. Look what it did for him. He played like 2 or 3 real quick songs and left, and the girls were talking about it all night in the room. They were talking about just him. They were ignoring the other 2 guys because he was that good. But man, it's like Wada. I just what could have been. I still don't know if that would have really made that much of a difference with Risako, but we'll never know now.
Well, so if you think partially about his identity in the house, and Jack, you were mentioning it earlier, I feel like whenever we see him on the show in the physical house, if I had only seen those clips, I would have guessed his profession was cook or chef.
Yeah.
Something.
Because all
around
he
that,
did
yeah.
was cook.
That's
That's all
true.
we see.
I think we have him. There's maybe one scene where he's holding a bass in the house.
In the room with Io, there was one scene where he was doing a little bit
Yeah.
of bass stuff. I don't know if he's restringing it. I don't even know if he was playing it or not. But yeah, you rarely saw him with the bass in the house.
Right.
feel
And the
like-
only time. Go ahead, Dilly.
I feel like that at one point there was mention that like he had played it like out loud and people got mad. So maybe
Right,
he
people
like
were annoyed.
never did it again.
People in the house were annoyed at his bass.
It
I
might
don't
have
know
been later in the day, so people might have been asleep.
Yeah, it wasn't
Okay.
necessarily annoyed. They didn't say it was annoying, but I remember it was Risako and Yui. They were grilling the fish in the backyard at night, and they just mentioned, "Oh yeah, I could hear the bass the whole time."
Man, I don't know. That would have been my move if I was him. I would have been.
Yeah, I
rocking.
mean, based on seeing him on stage, like in the show on stage, he slaps hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even Enon, when they were sitting down and over dinner, Enon's like, dude, you play bass like a god.
Dude, he does. And listen, man, I think about this way too much for opening new doors being over already. Like, I honestly have shower thoughts about what if Wada just had one other girl that showed just a modicum of interest in him. Would that have lit any fire under Risako at all? Because like there's like a kind of like a scarcity appeal there, right? Like I feel like people tend to maybe become infatuated. I wouldn't call it love, but they tend to become infatuated when there might be a danger of someone else liking that person. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it totally does.
I think that's the thing.
like-
I really think that's a thing. And I just wonder, man, like, because he was just so tunnel vision, had his blinders on. Risako, that was it. He would wax poetic about her right to her face and just make it awkward and say awkward shit. And it was just like, man, you're just trying too hard. Just lay back, play the bass, do your own thing. By the way, you're a rock star. I don't know if you know this. And then just like demonstrate. Yeah, just demonstrate that like maybe other people like you. The end. Like what's happening here? It's not rocket science to me.
Yeah. There were plenty of other parts of him that I thought would have been surely attractive though, like the cooking. I think that's super attractive. And then the ridiculous amount of thoughtfulness, like the yuzu bath, like going out of his way to do stuff like that. And then also being funny. I disagreed with Enon when he was like, you gotta not be the funny guy. And it's like, no, continue to be the funny guy. I love that.
I guess it hasn't worked for him in the past. That's why he's saying that.
Yeah. I can see where that corners him as like, I'm just the funny guy.
Real quick, I do agree with you that I think the yuzu bath is a great idea in principle, but it was the accumulation. It was the accumulation of everything, and it was the total body of work. For me, the yuzu bath was when it tipped over, and like now you're laying it on way too thick. Like if he had just done that one thing and then isolated, moment of caring and compassion, then that's one thing. But it was just like he was just laying it on so thick all day, every day, and then it was just like, dude, enough already with that.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, part of it too was Masao was there when it was getting down to the wire, right? In terms of trying to court her, it's not. He had to he was crunching in all this stuff he probably had planned in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, they were in a rush. Oh, definitely. He was not set up for success. He went in there with a girl that clearly said, "I need a tall man."
Yeah, he wasn't set up very well. Enon didn't give him the best advice. Also, I don't think we've talked about that much about it, but can we just talk about how logistically it would be awkward it would be to have a date with a roommate and then just come home with them? And then just they would be around after
that's
you just
me dying inside.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's not great.
It like, especially if the day goes poorly, right? You have to see them at home. You're more than likely riding home with them or driving them home.
If the day goes poorly, it's a gamble. But it's like, it's kind of an understood thing that if you're on Terrace House, you're expected to go on dates with the other girls. Or the other members of the house, I guess. You're expecting
all the girls date each other. That's it.
Date each other.
Yeah.
That's actually what the next season's all about, actually.
Fuck yeah.
Hey. Wow, now.
But yeah.
I don't know. This scene to me was just it felt half and half, like Enon was tearing our boy down. Like when he was honing in and saying, hey, don't chew so loud. You chew really loud. Like, that was weird to me. It was kind of like, I'm going to insult you and just let you know what other people think of you real quick, so then you can change your strategy when you're going after this girl. It's just like asking him to be disingenuous to who he is.
It's just that he, like, it's one thing to be like, hey, remember, like, you can sometimes chew really loud, versus like that one girl from Dadare, she thinks your chewing is really annoying, so girls think it's like annoying. Personal attack.
That was rough. And dude, the scariest thing, my biggest fear is that someone's going to say that thing to me and I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, Wada, like, I've never noticed it. Like, holy shit, to know that people have been... No, I know what you're going to do, Robert. Shut up. I have a feeling like he had no idea that was even a thing, that he chews with his mouth open. And man, I just felt for the man. What do I do, Colin? Or Robert, go ahead.
I was just going to say, your thighs are great.
Oh. Much appreciated. How can you even venture to see my thighs here?
I have ways.
See me with the chest. Okay, whoa.
The other weird thing I feel like this is super unsupportive as a friend is when Enon says, I don't think I could watch you, Masao, on TV kissing someone. I mean, that's like, what is it about your friend kissing someone on TV where you're like, oh God, I can't look at that.
I get it though. I get it.
I kind of get it.
I don't want to see any of you fuckers kiss anybody.
I got his example of like, the one girl in the band, like, she's done like nude and semi-nude scenes on television, and it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna, because then I have to like go to work with you and be like, oh,
now I have that mental image.
Yeah.
I've seen your boobies.
Oh no.
I also
Whereas like, for as chaste as Terrace House usually is when it comes to the tonguing down, Sana and Noah excluded, it's like, that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking, because I was in Masao's camp here where he was like, hey, if I were to take off my shirt and things got steamy on Terrace House, I totally get that. But like, this is just a kiss,
Mwah.
Mwah. That's how I kiss. Mwah.
Yes.
You don't actually touch their lip. You just kind of stare them dead in the eye.
Like, that's how kissing works, right?
Mwah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's how
I've been kissing wrong this whole time.
I love how Enon was there also for when Wada bought the harness too. He was in the store with him. Like, I think he suggested, right? Didn't he say, hey, you should get this, it'll help with your abs or something?
Yeah.
Then
Oh,
like,
man, dude,
it's a
he's
miracle has happened.
He's like Masao is low key a punching bag, you know.
Maybe he likes it that way.
That's kind of my end goal here, right? Is I think their friendship is fine. If it works for them, it works for them. I just worry that maybe part of Masao's low self-esteem comes from his best friend just taking him down every peg of the way.
Yeah, that's definitely the sense I've gotten. Like, he's just been beaten into submission.
No.
Well, I mean, Enon definitely will not stand if Wada becomes more famous than him. I can't see his ego taking that.
Oh, no, true. Yeah. Enon definitely seems like he would lose it if Kujutsu Kacho? Yeah, that's his stage name.
Kujutsu.
Yeah, Kujutsu Kacho. Yeah, but he technically kind of is, though. He was on Terrace House. I didn't know who Enon was very well.
I didn't either.
I mean, you know, it's different audiences.
Yes.
Yeah, but Masao does have an international audience now. Just saying.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I'm willing to bet more people know Wada-san than know Enon now worldwide.
And now there's more people to defend him and his unending charm, as misplaced as it might be sometimes.
I say we see who has more Instagram followers post Terrace House.
Think how many fan letters he's gotten, Wada-san has gotten since Terrace House. I mean, he's got to be having women
marriage proposals
batting down the doors. Yeah. Who cares if they're on death row? He's still a good man.
Same. I'm just waiting for in Tokyo 2019-2020 when we eventually see Baba Zono give us an update. I'm dating Masao Wada now.
We've
been together for 5 months. It's been going very well.
That's all I want.
His thighs are great.
His thighs are excellent. But I really like his nook.
Thank you, everyone on the show, for making me thigh conscious now for this episode. I appreciate that.
Oh my God.
You're welcome.
Fuck.
Well, on that note, I think we should maybe wrap up this show.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to leave everyone here with some homework. If you have a Spotify account, there is an official Tokyo 2019-2020 Spotify playlist made by Spotify itself. Yeah, and it has all the music that they play in 2019-2020, which obviously wouldn't really be a spoiler unless one of the episodes was named like Yusuke Fucks Down or something. I don't think any of them are named that.
No.
But my absolute favorite song on that playlist is a 5-second clip called Sound of Door by Terrace House. And it is the sound of the door closing at the end of every episode. It's just a 5-second clip.
Let's sample that and put it in our show. Yeah, let's put it at the end of our show. Holy shit.
It's so good. If you have enjoyed this show, please feel free to tell a friend, help them join the zeitgeist that is Terrace House. Let them know that now is a good time to start getting in. We've got a new season dropping internationally within the next few months. And when they catch up with opening new doors, they can start binging our show and have a lot of fun with us here at the Tadaima Clan. If not, feel free to leave us an iTunes review, your usual thing, it'd help us out a lot. If you have any questions, comments, theories, anything you want us to discuss on this show, any ideas you might have about Masao's thighs, you can email that to us at questions@terracehousepodcast.com.
Or Jack's.
Or Jack's thighs.
Oh, God.
Straight to your thighs.
Did you want me to read an iTunes review? Are we keeping this tradition alive?
I do, yes. Okay. Please do read us an iTunes review.
It just says, your thighs are great.
Shut up, Daily.
I just left
5 out of 5 stars.
Holy shit. I'm being harassed right now.
Wait, guys, it really does say his thighs are great.
Fuck. Okay. Just because I grew up rollerblading. No, just kidding. So, yeah. So thank you to everyone who left us a review on iTunes. And if you haven't yet, no worries. There still is time. And we would love you for it if you did. But we are going to start now reading these. This is the second week in a row we're reading iTunes reviews just to, hopefully incentivize you guys as well to keep that coming. So this latest one is from Screen Row, and it's titled Best Terrace House Podcast. Thank you very much. When I first started watching Terrace House, I discovered Robert, Colin, and Jack when they would do episodes on the Tiny Disc podcast. They would crack me up with those recaps, and the discussions are even better now with the addition of Daily on Tadaima. I'm the only one that watches Terrace House out of my family and friends, so after I watch, I love listening to the different perspectives these four have. Screen Row, thank you so much for a awesome review, and that makes us really happy too, because we want to grow this community. We want to bring people into the conversation and into the Tadaima clan and into the Tadaima and Terrace House family overall. So thank you so much for leaving that. We really appreciate it, and we value your feedback, and we will promise to do our best going forward. So thanks so much.
Ganbatte.
Arigato. I think my heart just leapt, guys. That was
right.
Doki
Doki
so many kind words.
Same.
Appreciate it.
I am glad that we can fill that void, though, right? And there are probably a lot of people who watch this show who may not have that many people to talk to about it, because it's a weird niche show, if you think about it, right?
I don't know anyone talking about Another Terrace episodes either, too. So hopefully, these are bringing value to somebody out there in Terrace House land.
Same. Somebody with good thighs, hopefully. That should end our show this week. You can catch us next week, next Tuesday, for another episode. This has been Tadaima. Thanks for listening. Itekimasu!
Email us at questions@terracehousepodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at Tadaimagram, on Twitter at TadaimaPod, and check us out on Facebook and YouTube at Tadaima, a Terrace House podcast.